Hey there, Modern Math Teacher. Welcome back to the Modern Math Teacher podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Moore, and I'm so excited because today we're talking about a topic that has the potential to transform your classroom. And it is without a doubt my favorite topic to talk about. That's right, we are talking about project based learning, or PBL for short. Now, I know that PBL can sound like a massive undertaking, you guys, but in this episode, I'm going to break it down for you into some manageable steps. And by the end of our time together today, you'll see how you can start incorporating elements of project based learning into your lessons without feeling overwhelmed or feeling like you have to reinvent the wheel. Are you ready for it? Let's do this. Now, first things first, let's talk about what project based learning actually is. In like a nutshell, project-based learning is an instructional approach where your students are going to learn by actively engaging in real-world and personally meaningful projects. Okay, this is an ongoing inquiry where our students are going to continue to investigate, ask, and answer questions, and learn the content throughout that time. Instead of traditional instruction where your students passively receive this information, PBL encourages them to explore, ask questions, and solve problems that matter to them as they work through that project. Now, I know that some of you are probably thinking, Kristen, I do not have time to plan a huge project on top of literally everything else I have to do. Girl, I get it. Trust me, I know. I've been there. That's why I'm here to help show you that you don't need to go all in right away. You can start small and with just a few PBL elements and gradually build up from there. So, how do you get started without PBL feeling like it's just too much? Let's start by talking about some of these small steps you can do to dip your toes into the PBL water. One thing you can do is to start with a small mini project based learning experience for your students. A mini project is going to be a scaled down version of a full PBL unit that can be completed in usually a week, maybe even just a couple of class periods. For example, if you are teaching linear equations, you could have your students design and conduct a simple experiment like tracking the growth of a plant or the speed of a toy car, and then use that data to create linear models. It's a small and manageable project that still gives students the experience of applying math in that real world context. And I've got just the resource to help you plan and do this. The Gold Standard Project Planner is the exact planner that I use to create all of my PBL units, from my really small 1 week projects to my 8 and 12 week PBL units. Okay. It's got everything you need in it to make sure that you've covered the key elements of PBL and taught your students the key concepts of math that they need to know. You can get the planner by going to morethanjustx.com/project planner, or you can find it linked here in the show notes. It is my gift to you. It is the uh, most straightforward way for you to get started designing your own PBL experience today. So if you need to plan a mini project, you've got to get that gold standard planner. Now, what about thinking about integrating some PBL elements into already existing lessons or already existing curriculum? Awesome. You do not have to create an entirely new project from scratch. Instead, I want you to look at your current lessons and see where you can add in a project based learning experience. Okay. So, again, now let's say maybe you're teaching linear systems. So, why not turn that into a project where students can plan a small business, determine their pricing and their profit using their math skills, like we do in the pitch profit project that I've got on TPT. You are still covering the same content, but with a more engaging, hands on approach. It incorporates some of that voice and choice from project based learning, and students still get the opportunity to use some inquiry to drive their learning. And you can even follow it up with a full blown project fair if you want, right? So you can add in as many or as few of the PBL elements you want to still get some of the same benefits of project based learning. Now, lastly, I want to make sure that you are using resources that do the heavy lifting for you. Guys, we got to stop reinventing the wheel here, okay? There are some amazing resources out there that can help you get started with project based learning. For example, in the project based algebra teachers membership, we provide those ready made projects that are aligned with your curriculum standards, right? These projects come with everything you need from student instructions to assessment rubrics, so you can focus on guiding your students rather than spending hours in planning mode. I have already done that work for you. One of our most popular projects is the Save for Success project, where your students are going to research their dream job. They're going to analyze the cost of the schooling or training that's necessary for them when they're done, and they'll begin to map out a plan to invest and save for their future. It is a really awesome way to incorporate project based learning into a topic you're already teaching while showing students the relevance of math in their future careers, right? When am I ever going to need this? There is no more personal way to answer that than through that project where they have to figure it out themselves. Now, though, we've gone over three ways to get started, right? You can use a mini project, and you can use the Gold Standard Project Planner to help you plan along the way. You can incorporate PBL elements into your existing lesson. So just go into your curriculum, find a couple places you can add that real world inquiry based approach to it, right? Or you can use ready made resources that do all the heavy lifting for you. We know how we can get started, but why should we even care? So let's take a moment to talk about the benefits of project based learning. This is not just for your students, but for you as a teacher. One of the most significant benefits and advantages of PBL is that it shifts the learning and the focus from you being the sole provider or knowledge giver, right, to the students taking charge of their learning. You are no longer the sage on the stage, you are the guide on the side. This not only increases student engagement, but it also encourages them to develop those critical thinking, problem solving, and collaboration skills that they're going to need no matter what they do in their future. And here's something that I think often gets overlooked: PBL can actually make your life easier in the long run. I know, easier, I promise. So once you've developed a few go to projects, you can just reuse and adapt them year after year, tweaking them to fit your students' new interests and their needs, right? But you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to start from scratch again. Plus, with your students more engaged and invested in their work, you'll likely find that classroom management becomes easier too. I know. So many good benefits for the students and for you as a teacher. Now, speaking about classroom management, let's talk about managing the logistics of PBL in a classroom. I wear this shirt, the chaos coordinator shirt, because that is how I feel I am as a PBL teacher. One of the biggest concerns teachers have all the time is, you know, how do you manage to fit a project into an already packed curriculum? So, again, my advice here is to start by identifying where PBL naturally fits with what you're already teaching. For example, if your curriculum requires your students to learn about exponential functions, like a lot of ours do, consider a project where they track the growth of something. Maybe that's bacteria in a petri dish if you want to combo with a science teacher, or they can look at investments and the stock portfolio. The key here is to align the project with your standards so that it doesn't feel like extra work, but rather an integrated part of what you are teaching. Okay. Then another tip is to set really clear expectations and timelines and milestones for your students. We want to take that project, break it down into manageable chunks. These are called our milestones. And each of those chunks is going to have specific goals for their stage. This not only keeps your students on track, but also helps you stay organized as the chaos coordinator, as the teacher in that classroom. And remember, you don't have to do everything all at once, right? So start with one project and see how it goes and build up from there. And again, you can use that gold standard project planner linked here to help you plan and create each one of these projects and these elements to keep you all on track. All right, you guys. Whew, it's my favorite topic, and it seems like this has gone by so fast, but there you have it. A simple, manageable way to start incorporating project based learning into your classroom without feeling overwhelmed. We can do mini projects, we can incorporate those different elements, and we can use resources to do the heavy lifting for us. Remember, you guys, PBL doesn't have to be an all or nothing approach. In fact, it should not be, okay? Start small, build your confidence, and gradually introduce more complex projects as you and your students get more comfortable with the process. If you are looking for more support, don't forget to check out the Project Based Algebra Teachers membership. It is packed with those ready to go resources that'll save you time and help you bring PBL to life in your algebra classroom. Whew. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today on the Modern Math Teacher Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and share it with your fellow teachers. Next week, I'm excited to talk about how to boost student engagement through discourse by using the 5 practices for orchestrating productive mathematical discussions. It's a book that I have loved and used since probably day 1 of teaching, and I can't wait to unpack that with you next week. All right, I'll see you back here next week in the next episode. Until then, keep making math meaningful. And as always, keep it real. Bye, friends.